Welcome back to episode 4 of the People Who Love Sports podcast. We are back for another week. Got a lot to talk about today, a lot going on in the world of sports. Join with me today, I've brought back Patrick. Patrick, how are you? How you doing?
Good.
Feeling good?
Doing great.
Yep. And then our special guest today, part of the Titans and Truth podcast, my coworker, and the biggest Titans fan I probably know, Chris Newell. Chris, how are you today? How you doing? You feeling good?
I'm feeling pretty good, gentlemen. Glad to be on here with you.
All right, we're going to have a good time today. Main focus today is going to be a lot of football. Had a lot happen. Obviously, we're going to talk about last week of the college football. Going to look forward to week 2. Got a lot of big matchups. Going to talk about the new conference alignment in the ACC. Then we're going to get into the NFL. I know both of y'all are very ride or dies for your NFL team. I think it's going to be in a very exciting week 1. Y'all ready to get into it?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right. So, Patrick, who you want to talk about first? Florida or LSU being disappointing this week? Who you want to talk about?
Well, I don't want to talk about my team first, so let's talk about your team.
Okay. Okay.
I would rather not talk about it first.
Well, unless you were living under a rock this week, LSU did lose to Florida State, 45-24. I hate it. I think I should talk here first. I think Jaden Daniels wasn't bad. The second half was terrible. That's all I can say. Definitely need to get some DB improvement. Florida State's really good. I think both of y'all can agree with me on that. Florida State is dangerous. I think they're going to be dangerous. I might regret not picking them to win the ACC. They probably saw that I said that and decided they were going to go off. If either of y'all want to speak on that game, have anything to say, you can go ahead. Chris, I know you said you watched a lot of it, but whoever wants to go first.
All right. So I watched pretty much all of the game. And like you said, I think the first half was really tight. I think both teams were still trying to figure each other out, typical week 1 stuff. Florida State obviously figured out LSU. And
yeah.
I'm going to be completely honest with you, Cooper. It could have been a lot worse.
I know.
Think it could have been 50, 60 points. And obviously you have that last second touchdown that makes the score look a little bit better, but not much better.
Yeah.
And LSU's just I don't think they're as good as they were last year. And simple as that.
It really doesn't feel like it. I'll see you in 2 weeks. We take on. I'm gonna be there in Starkville for Mississippi State, and probably Ole Miss. I really just hope we improve like we did last year. Chris, what do you think about this game overall for both teams?
Now, I'm gonna start off by saying to everybody else out there, I am not as versed in college football as a lot of other people are. I'm working on it. I think that's something that I'm definitely trying to get myself into. With that being said, I am slightly a Knowles fan. So, even though I am a graduate from the University of Memphis, I also support the Michigan Wolverines as well as the Florida State Seminoles. Those are my other teams. So, there was a slight bit of happiness on my face with Florida State winning, but being objective, man, they put on a rout in the second half. I didn't really get to watch it till the second half, and Florida State just asserted its dominance in the second half. The defensive line was cutthroat, and they did not let LSU run the ball at all. And Jaden Daniel had to kind of do a lot of rolling to his right, trying to get away from that rush. So that made things a little bit difficult. And then, once the Knowles got going, they put pedal to the metal and they didn't stop. No, they didn't. 31-0 straight.
Unfortunately,
They
they're
put a
good.
whooping on them in that third quarter.
I mean, it's kind of the question now. Can they still contend for the? I think they're contenders, but I mean, you still got to play Clemson, and we'll get back to
Yeah,
Clemson. I know there's a lot.
and I agree.
Go ahead.
And I agree because I mean, there's still a lot of time for LSU. Obviously, they're gonna have Grambling next week. They can, even though much respect to the Grambling to their band, they can clean up some
Yeah,
stuff before before Mississippi State, before Ole Miss, then eventually, of course,
Arkansas.
that
We
matchup with
play Arkansas.
Alabama.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I hope we have a season like last year where we lose to a really good team and then finish really well. I can't complain about that. I just want to see improvement. I think out of my goal, another team that the nation has a lot of eyes on. I think both of y'all will love this.
Here we go.
Not Florida. Well, you know what?
Not Florida.
We'll come back to Florida because I want to talk about Colorado. I want to talk about Dion and Shadur and Travis. Colorado beat TCU this week, 45-42. Chris, I see the facial expressions there, man. What's going on? You not feeling the team, or is it just? I think me and you talked about this earlier. You can go ahead.
And you're right. We did have this conversation earlier. I don't think it's necessarily the team itself. I think Shedeur Sanders put on a performance. I got to watch bits and pieces of the game. This kid Travis Hunter playing both ways, and not only had like 8 catches for over 110 yards, he had that spectacular interception.
Yeah, that was probably one of the turning points of that game.
I agree. That was a huge play. But the thing I'm not like everybody else. I saw on Facebook everybody jumping on like, yeah, give Dion his props, give him that respect. Yeah, Dion. I'm not one of those types. I'm sorry. I'm not the type to get up on no bandwagon because honestly, I don't like the way he left Jackson State. He left them in shambles, and they got their butts kicked by Florida A&M Saturday. So pretty much they're back to the gutter, left them high and dry, and in Colorado, they're flying high right now. But, they got a tough test at home, to kind of say, what, we here, against Nebraska, even though Nebraska is probably not that good. But it's the fact it's his first home game at home in Boulder Canyon. And, Boulder Canyon is not an easy place to play. It's not an easy place to win. So, I mean, shout out to Shedeur Sanders. If he can follow this up with a couple of good performances, then I really do see him in the Heisman conversation. But, yeah, I'm not really believing in Dion just yet. I mean, it was a nice win and a good upset, but I'm not a Dion believer. He left a sour taste in my mouth with how he left Jackson State.
And I want to follow up on what he said. In addition to him leaving the university itself, just no infrastructure behind him for them to remain relevant. Think about all the kids that committed to Jackson State, committed to other HBCUs, to specifically to play in a culture like Dion cultivated. Well, that culture at Jackson State, hopefully it's still there in some respect, but with Dion being gone, think about the kids that are still there. They wanted to play for Dion, and he didn't take them with him. When he went to Colorado. So I mean, I just think, like Chris said, it's just a really scummy way to leave a university, and I don't think he should be respected for that. I don't think he deserves respect until he. I really don't even know how he would get it.
You think if he takes down Oregon and USC, you think he gets it?
I don't think it's about winning games at all. I just there has to be some form of apology. I mean, I don't even think an apology works. I mean, how do you really Like, how do you really recover from that?
There's not a way to do that. I mean, Coop, to your point, now if
Yeah.
Colorado beats Oregon and USC for the university, oh, absolutely. They're going to get all the respect in the world. They're going to be like, all right, Boulder Canyon's back. Them Buffaloes, like back in the day when they were playing Michigan rough and tough, they'll be back. But for Dion himself, I don't think there's no way he'll be able to repair that relationship. And not only that, and Coop, you and I understand as being, here, everybody being here in Memphis locally, he took them out of the big Southern Heritage Classic, which we're going to have that this week. Usually that is one of their biggest games of the year. Here in Memphis, that is a huge celebration. I mean,
brings in big crowds.
Big crowds, big money.
The tailgating, everything.
It's a party. And he took them out of that, and I guess because he thought it was beneath him.
Oh, Lord.
We're about business.
You just reminded me about him. I remember him saying that now, because that was something crazy. But I mean, I just wanted to talk about it. I knew not everyone was going to love Dion. It's still an impressive win. On the other hand, there's another team that didn't get an impressive win this weekend. Patrick, I think the
all right,
fate
here comes the Gators. All right,
you want to start it?
Yeah, I guess I'll start it. I mean, what is there to say?
Before you start, I mean, Utah beat y'all 24-11. So go ahead, just go ahead.
What is there to say at this point?
Yeah,
Florida sports, specifically football, but this applies to men's basketball. This applies to women's basketball. This applies to baseball. It arguably applies to every other sport except maybe track and field and like volleyball or something. Like, we're okay at those. I mean, it is just a constant stream of disappointment. Florida has not had any good feeling since Urban Meyer left.
You there, Patrick?
You start off with Will Muschamp.
Oh no!
Who was
having technical difficulties?
I don't even think he was that bad. I think he just got lucky.
This isn't good.
And with the with the culture that he had to come after, and so obviously he failed. You bring in Jim McElwain, who I think is one of the worst coaches of all time. He doesn't know how to coach, doesn't know how to recruit, right? And by the time he gets fired in 2017, we're 7-8 years removed from the Urban Meyer era.
Yeah.
Florida fans are clamoring to get that kind of thing back. And if Urban Meyer is already coaching at Ohio State, he's not going to leave to come back to Florida. You get the next best thing, Dan Mullen. Right? I think Dan Mullen is just such an amazing case of trying to be like another coach. He wanted to be Urban Meyer so bad at Florida. And so he wanted to create that same culture. But it's that culture of no accountability, favoritism, not disciplining your players at all. I mean, I think, what was the stat on that 2008 Florida team? It was like 120-something players, and 41 of them got arrested.
Yeah, I think it was 41 or 44. Insane.
Yeah, like about a third of the whole team getting arrested.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that's the culture that Urban Meyer left behind at Florida and completely destroyed the program. Right? But you bring back Dan Mullen, who's a leftover from that era. He wants to be Urban Meyer, so he creates that same culture, brings it back, but he doesn't have any of the coaching prowess of Urban Meyer. He doesn't have any of the charisma, whether it be in practice, or in interviews, or whatever it may be. And so what you get is a man who thinks himself God, but he's not. I mean, Dan Mullen's a terrible football coach. And so, and people are saying right now that we were wrong to fire Mullen. We were wrong to hire Billy Napier. I don't even think it's a Billy Napier problem. I think it's just a Florida football problem. I think the program is cursed.
I mean, it kind of feels like that now that you bring it up. I mean, for me, it reminds me to go back and look at the 2019 and 2020 season. I mean, y'all having very much success, and then y'all just got unlucky. I mean, I saw when y'all came to Death Valley in 2019 and lost. I think a lot of people can remember that game. Where were
Marco
y'all?
Wilson is a bum for that. I know he did an interview a couple months. I don't know if it's like a couple months ago.
I'm saying 2019, not 2020.
Oh, okay.
The one in Death Valley with Burrow and all them.
Yeah, let me talk about 2020 real quick though.
Yeah, you're good.
Marco, all right, we are one Marco Wilson being off the team away from a national championship, and I will hold that line forever. He got cooked versus A&M, right, on a deep throw that set up the field goal for them to win.
Yeah.
He threw the shoe against LSU. If he doesn't do that, we win that game.
I'm sorry, that's too funny for me. No offense.
And talking about the shoe, by the way,
oh Lord,
did an interview I think like a couple months ago where he said his only regret was that he didn't throw it far enough. What kind of person do you have to be?
Wow.
That's that rivalry, man. That's
lack of
that
awareness.
Like I didn't think we had a chance in that game. Going into Florida and beating them with the team that we had, which I think if you, Patrick or Chris, either one of y'all watched, it was not that good. Like we were not.
You guys were
at all.
You guys were like 4-5 going into that game.
I think 4-5. We beat y'all, and then we beat Ole Miss at home in like a shootout. But I definitely think.
I think you were. Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a long season for both of us. Let's be honest. I think a lot of people can say that.
LSU is miles ahead of Florida, though. LSU has a chance to go 9-3, 8-4, finish the season ranked. It may be a disappointing season to where you guys think you were going to be, but finishing ranked as an SEC team is never a bad season.
Yeah.
But Florida, I mean, we could finish as low as 3-9. I mean,
I do not want that.
I
really hope I don't finish 3-9.
I think the big game for Florida, and as hilarious as this sounds, the biggest game is going to be home against Vanderbilt. If Billy Napier loses that game, it's homecoming, by the way.
Oh, he's done.
If we lose that game, if we lose to Vanderbilt at home on homecoming, it's over.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, right, Billy Napier will be fired the next morning.
Oh, most definitely. Probably that night. Like he would have his bags packed after the game.
Yep.
Another little thing I wanted to go through. Happens every year. I love talking about it. The group of 5 teams going in and beating Power 5 teams in week 1. Obviously, we saw a lot of examples of that. I think the one for me that was kind of a oh my gosh was Texas State with former LSU quarterback TJ Finley go into Baylor and win. I know there was a couple more. Chris or Patrick, did y'all have any of these smaller schools? Any of these smaller schools y'all like seeing the bigger school? I think there was a couple that kind of shocked the nation, honestly.
I really like that Texas State upset because
I love that
Baylor is UCF's first home game. And seeing them get upset by Texas State in their own house really gives me hope that we will, hopefully win our first Big 12 home game.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Chris, did you have any?
I really don't. I did see, just off the whim, I see Jacksonville State over UTEP, which I don't really care for either school. I don't even really know about.
That was a week 0.
School.
That's still impressive. If you don't know, Jacksonville State, this is their first year in FBS. So for them to be able to get that win was huge.
They're 2-0, by the way.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Week 2 as well.
Yeah, I know. Very impressive. A team to definitely look for. Sean, I'm looking at some of the games right now. There's a lot of games on Saturday. We'd be here for 2 hours if we wanted to go in depth.
And that's the thing. It's so many. And that's the thing about it with me. as not being a college football guy, I'm trying to get used to that. It's like in the NFL, you may be able to watch, at most, you're going to probably watch about 3 or 4 games in a day. In college football, there's like 15 games in a day.
Yeah.
15 games going on at the same time.
Which we love it. We love it.
Like
me and Patrick both can say that.
And I'm going to give a quick shout out to the University of Memphis, my alma mater, beating Bethune-Cookman, getting that victory.
56-14.
So gotta give it up to my Tigers, doing their job, doing their thing, and hopefully this is big things to come for them.
Well, with big things to come.
Too bad we're not in the American anymore. Too bad UCF's not in the American, so we can whoop that ass.
Hey,
we've taken care of Florida before.
No, shh. All right. Well, now week 1's behind us. We got to start looking towards week 2. I think there's one game that everyone's on their mind. I think both of y'all know what it is. We have to talk about it. It's Bama and Texas at Bama. We don't have to go too long on this. Thoughts, opinions, predictions. Who do y'all think is going to come out on top? And with Texas joining the SEC next year, do you think that affects them in any way if they go out and win or lose this game? Whoever would like to go first.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris.
I don't think it'll affect. Yeah, I don't think it'll affect either way, but I do think this could be the start of a really nice rivalry, like big time, between the two, especially. But like you said, now they're going to, it's going to be just an open field, not conferences anymore. So there could be points where they make sure Alabama and Texas play every year. And if that's the case, that's going to be class right there. I mean, that's going to be a fun
Go look at the game last year.
Watch.
Look back and look at that game last year. Incredible. If Quinn Ewers doesn't get injured, if Quinn Ewers, if Quinn Ewers, I'm going to say this until the day I die. If Quinn Ewers does not get injured, they win that game probably by double digits. I mean, they would look really, really good. Like, I was shocked watching Quinn Ewers play football. I was like, oh my gosh. I don't know if he'll be able to do it this year, but I think they could put up a fight.
And on BetMGM, Texas is a 7-point dog.
I would take
that bet.
I would take that. Patrick, you taking that? 7 points? You taking that?
That's a good question. I think whoever wins the game wins it by 7 points. So
I see that as well.
I mean, dead on. I think the one thing I would take though, what I'm looking at, over under is 54.
Yeah, it's like 54.5.
Yeah, take the over.
Over.
Take the over.
Both these.
It's going to be a shootout.
Do y'all think both of these teams could score 30, 40 points each?
Yes. I think it will be that.
So who wins?
It's going to be close.
Who wins and why? Patrick, Chris, just spit it out.
Alabama. All right, I've got Alabama 37-31, only because it's in Bryant-Denny.
That's the thing for me.
If this game is in Texas, I think it's the other way around.
I think I can agree with you on that. I'm taking Bama. Me and Chris both have a coworker at Fox 13 who went to Texas. I want Texas to win. I'll put the horns up one time. But I got to go with Bama. I think they're going to be too good at home. I don't see a non-conference opponent beating them at home. Like, probably the last time that happened is when they lost to UL Monroe in 2006, Saban's first year. So, I think it'll be. I think we could see a 37-31, possibly an overtime game. But I think Bama's just going to be too good for Texas at home. Chris, we going opposite, or we taking Bama?
Yeah.
As much as I don't want to take Bama, I'm sliding to go that way. I think it's a revenge game. I mean, even though Alabama won it last year. I think it's the fact that they felt Texas got too close to them and shouldn't
Yeah.
have. Ewers can show the world he is a legit NFL quarterback in this type of game. He puts a good show on against Alabama. That's going to help him and possibly in the Heisman, and it helps his draft stock. I will say Alabama 31-24. I think Bama wins. It's a close game. I think Texas does cover. I would take that +7 because I
Definitely.
think Texas will cover. But I think Alabama escapes.
Yeah. I think it's got to be Bama. So we got some other games this week. I think there's a lot of interesting games that all three of us would like to see. We'll start out with Notre Dame going to North Carolina State. Obviously, North Carolina State, they're coming off a win against UConn on last Thursday. Notre Dame has played Navy and Tennessee State, so I feel like this will be their first big test. I know I'm very impressed with Notre Dame right now. Sam Hartman's a very good quarterback. I do think he could go high in the draft. And there's probably an upset here, but I think Notre Dame goes out there and gets it done. I think they're gonna shock a lot of people this year. But the way I've been seeing them play, they could make some noise, especially when they start playing like an Ohio State or a USC.
I think I want to go back to something Chris said about Quinn Ewers, how he can prove that he's a legitimate NFL quarterback in this game against Bama.
Go ahead.
Think in a similar way, but not as it's obviously not as big of a game as Alabama and Texas, right? But I think Sam Hartman's performance in this game will determine, how good of an NFL quarterback he could be, and I think it also determines how good Notre Dame is going to be this year. Because, like you said, their first two games were Navy and Tennessee State. Respect to those football programs, but they're not that good. And NC State is their first, big team that they're playing.
Yeah. So do both of y'all think Notre Dame gets it done, or we got somebody taking NC State on this?
I think Notre Dame wins a close game. And I think it's going to be more offensive than defensive. So maybe like a 31-28 or something. But
Chris?
We'll see.
I'm going with the Irish on this one. I think I really, like I said, I really don't know a lot with NC State. I know they're coming off of a win as well. NC State's a 7.5-point dog in this game. It's an early game, but I think this could be another statement game for Notre Dame if they play to their keys. Their defense is really, really good. Like you said, Sam Hartman, coming from Wake Forest, he has experience against NC State, playing at Wake Forest before. So that does help as well. I'm going with Notre Dame on this one. I think Notre Dame, they take care of business. I think they win by double digits.
All right, so we move on to the next game. We mentioned this team earlier. Y'all both had a lot to say. Nebraska and Colorado. I know, Chris, you said this is a big home game for them. First game of Dion. Chris, I'll let you start this one. Who do you got? Nebraska or Colorado?
As much as I'm not a fan of Prime, give me them Buffaloes. Give me them Buffaloes at Boulder Canyon. Back in the day, I used to like seeing Boulder Canyon in its glory. So, give me the Buffaloes. I think they make a statement at home against Nebraska. It might be a little bit closer than people think. I think it'll be, about a 10-point game, maybe less. But I'll give it to Colorado. I think Shedeur Sanders, could put on another show at home. He's going to be seen as legit.
Patrick, you taking Colorado on this one?
I'm taking Colorado, and it's not going to be close.
Yeah.
Nebraska. Nebraska's offense looked awful in their first game.
It was bad against Minnesota.
I think, what was it, 13-10? Last second field goal. does that really sound like a team that's going to, turn around next week, go play a team that just upset a ranked team and with 45 points on offense, a quarterback who just had a Heisman level performance, and go beat them in their own house? No chance. I think it's going to be. I can't really think of a score, maybe like 45-17, but I mean it's not going to be close.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Colorado here. Day. Yeah, I think it'll be fun to watch though. I'd like to see how the crowd is for this game. I know these two teams had a classic a couple years ago. I remember watching. It was in Boulder. Don't remember what year it was, but I remember watching it. It was a very good game. This is going to be the exact opposite. I feel like this could either be really close or really bad. I'm taking really bad. I think Colorado gets it done. Next game we got. This could be game of the week right here. If Bama and Texas isn't a great game, this could be it. Ole Miss going to Tulane in New Orleans. Me and Chris saw this morning. Tulane is sold out. This is Ole Miss is ranked, but they're number 22 or 23.
It's not hard to sell out that stadium.
I know, but
tin can.
Give credit where it's due. I want to talk about this one. I think Ole Miss is a very good football team. I think they'll bring a lot of competition to the SEC West. Don't know how they're going to fare against LSU. We'll see this weekend how they look. I think with Tulane having it at home, they look really good in their first game, coming off last year, the environment and everything. Give me Tulane, but I think it's going to be like a 3 or 7 point game. I don't think this game will get anywhere near a double digit lead. I think they'll keep going back and forth, but Tulane will get it done at the end of the day. I think Ole Miss ain't going to be able to handle that New Orleans pressure they're bringing.
All right, so I'll go next. I am actually taking Ole Miss in this game. You mentioned something about the atmosphere at Yulman Stadium over New Orleans.
Yeah.
I went to the game against UCF last year in New Orleans. Not the AAC championship, where we were all injured. By the way, I'm talking about the regular season game.
Didn't y'all get? It was not good.
We won 38-31 in the regular season game. The atmosphere, it was a ranked game, and for it being a ranked game, I don't think the atmosphere was very good. I know they didn't even sell out. And Ole Miss, obviously being a bigger name, I think that's why it sold out. But I don't think that the atmosphere is going to be too much of an issue for Ole Miss. And I think they get it done. I'm trying to think of a score, maybe 34-24.
Yeah. Chris, who you taking in this one?
I'm going Tulane to pull the upset. I think Tulane wins this game. They are, they're pretty hot off of last year. And, even though Ole Miss was extremely impressive in their victory over Mercer, just killing them. But Tulane's a 7-point dog. I might take this one as well. I think Tulane will cover, and I think they're going to win outright. So I'm riding that green wave.
There we go.
I'm used to them, and we got to deal with them. So I'm riding that green wave
for now until they come to Memphis. They're gonna cross that Mississippi River. Bam, and we'll get into that game in a couple weeks, man. I'm really excited for that one. Hopefully, I'll be there. Another one. I really didn't want to talk about it, but I still feel like it's gonna have a lot of talk around it. Texas A&M going out to Miami. Two teams that were really disappointing last year. Both got dominant wins last week. I'm going to take Texas A&M on the road here. Just from what I saw on tape, what I saw from the media and everything. Looks like Texas A&M is the better team. And who knows? Every year we say they're going to be good. No one knows when that year is going to come. So I'm gonna take Texas A&M. I think it'll come down to the last second like it did last year, and I think it'll be a good game. But Texas A&M all the way. Chris,
I'm going upset. I'm going
with the U.
I'm going with the U. I'm going with the Canes
All
on this
right,
one.
all right.
I think the Canes
I
pull
don't
the
have the
upset.
webcam on, but I'm doing I'm doing an upside down U. I hate Miami. There you go. Thanks, Cooper.
There we go. If y'all don't know what he's talking about, hey. All right, well, Chris, yeah, go
I
ahead and
understand.
explain. Go
You
ahead.
know what? I don't. Being a Florida State fan, I don't care for the U either. You know, they can kick rocks really, but I think for this game, you know, this is going to be a good test for Texas A&M because they'll be playing like Alabama, you know, later this year too. Sometimes Texas A&M tends to rise to the occasion against teams they're not supposed to beat, but then they also mess up against those teams that they should beat. This is a game you would think Texas A&M should win, and again, my knowledge is not always the greatest, but I just smell an upset here. 4.5. I think I'll take Miami in the points.
Man, both of y'all, man. Patrick, who you taking? You taking you riding with me?
I
You
think
riding
this
with
is
you?
what I think this is what we call a good old fashioned mid off.
Yeah, right? There we go. That's the word. I think that's the perfect word for it.
Mid
Yeah,
off.
these two teams are just they're
Mid.
they're gonna be horrible teams to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I can say a single good thing about Miami's roster
Damn.
or their coach.
Yeah, good point.
Tyler Van Dyke is one of the most overrated quarterbacks I've ever seen. I mean,
Go
Texas
in.
A&M. I can't think of a. I mean, obviously, you know, if you gave me time, I could think of their players, but no stars come off the top of my head. I think it's going to be a case of who wants to lose it more. And I mean, we
feel
could
you
see
on that.
I feel like it's going to be something similar to Nebraska and Minnesota. I know you, Cooper. I forget if it was you or Chase that texted me, saying nobody wants to win this game.
It was both
when
of us.
we were watching.
Probably both of us.
Yeah,
Probably both of us.
Because I think it's going to be a similar scenario. Maybe not 13-10, but maybe like a 24-21 or something.
Yeah, that's what
nobody really wants to win it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least the Nebraska-Minnesota game had a fun ending. You go back and watch that ending for Minnesota. Literally got the fumble, got the win, pulled off the upset. It was a fun game to watch. This will not be that, unless you're a fan of the team, of course. All respect to both fan bases. I will say
as an actual prediction, though, I will take Texas A&M.
Okay. So we can move on from this mid-off. Two more games we got here before we get into the NFL. We can go through these quick. I think Oregon versus
We're not going through the second one quick.
Well, Oregon versus Texas Tech. We're gonna I feel like Texas Tech, you know, they lost last week to Wyoming. Kind of a shock to me. I was very surprised they won. Meant they lost. Sorry about that. I still think they can be successful, but I think coming off of last week, I mean, it's your home opener. I could see them pulling off an upset, but Oregon put up 81 points last week against Portland State. I don't care if you score 81 points. That's impressive. I'm gonna take Oregon on the road here. I do think it will be kind of a show like, hey, you know, we're good. We can win it. We can win on the road. So give me Oregon over Texas Tech in Lubbock.
I think it's going to be. I mean, looking at week 1, Texas Tech. I mean, obviously they lost to Wyoming. People have kind of already lost faith in them. And
I haven't lost faith. I think it's just Oregon's too good.
I think this is your prototypical trap game in college football.
Yeah,
you have a team that's coming off a very disappointing loss. The other team just had a very impressive win, and it's in it's at the home field of the disappointing team. It just smells like a trap game to me. Now, I don't think Texas Tech wins. I think it'll be close. I mean, maybe even tied going into the fourth quarter. But then I think I think Oregon pulls away a little bit. Maybe like a 38-24, or maybe like 38-28, or I don't know, something similar to that.
So we're taking Oregon.
I am taking Oregon.
Chris, you taking Oregon, or you riding that red? You riding that Red Raider?
Quack, 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 quack. I'm going. I'm going with the Ducks. I'm going with the Ducks. The only thing I am concerned about is Bo Nix for real, because we've seen him struggle at Auburn, and he was okay, not great. I mean, probably not even really just good. And now he's at Oregon, probably in a better offense suited for him. That's the only problem going forward. But hey, quack, quack, quack. Going with the quack attack.
There we go. All right, Patrick, this is the game. This game's honestly in here because of you. I think UCF versus Boise State in Idaho at the Blue Field. I don't know if UCF's ever been there. Patrick, whenever you're ready, take it away. I think I know who you're going to pick to win this game, and I think I'm going opposite.
I mean, it's obvious. It's obvious I'm picking UCF.
Oh, yeah, all day.
I think this is the type of game where you can really establish yourself. And John Rice Plumlee, we've seen good things from him at UCF. We've seen bad things from him at UCF. I mean, he had an amazing game week 1, but he also had 2 interceptions. And, I think this is the type of game where he either cleans up those mistakes or it costs us. And I'm going to think optimistically. I think he will clean up those mistakes from week 1. He looked a lot better than he did last year. And I think we end up winning the game, and albeit closely. I think it'll be a really close 3-7 point game. It's not going to be more than one possession. An interesting thing about this game, by the way, you mentioned the Blue Field. Now, there's a high school near UCF, and I think it's called Masters Academy, that has a blue field. And they've been practicing there all week to prepare for it. And I think it's things... Yeah, I think it's
smart.
Things like that. Yeah, it's the little things that the coaching staff does, like practicing on a blue field before the game in order to prepare for that, because obviously it's a visual difference. That makes me think that we're going to be a lot better than we were last year.
Chris, taking UCF, you going with the Broncos.
I have to admit, underrated. Boise State is like one of my favorite, stadiums to see. One of the favorite fields to see because, like you said, the blue field does a lot for you. I mean, I think another school like, I want to say Eastern Washington has a red field or something like that. So
Coastal Carolina has the aqua field as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's different.
Central Arkansas has the purple and gray.
But going in all seriousness, Central Florida is a nemesis of mine. I do not like Central Florida. I wish nothing but bad luck upon them all the time.
Hey, if you're going to say the name, say it right. It's UCF.
I'm going Central Florida.
Nope, incorrect. That's the one thing that gets on my nerves, especially with all the Twitter fan bases calling us Central Florida. Look, I get it. It makes sense. The University of Central Florida. Just call us UCF.
Well,
we're going to beat you. Well, you might as well call us by our name.
Well, I'm riding with the Broncos in the blue field to beat UCF Central Florida. UCF, I think they'll be good, but I'm going with Boise. I don't really have a dog in the fight, but I'm going Boise.
I'm kind of 50-50 on this one. When I was looking at it, preparing for this, I couldn't really decide a winner. I mean, the only reason I kind of leaned towards Boise State was that blue field. But now that you talk about, I didn't know they practiced on a blue field all week. Give me UCF, baby. They're gonna go out to Idaho and beat them. I finally agree with Patrick for once on a UCF pick. I know he loves it. I'm riding with the Knights for week 2, baby. We got this.
Hey,
Even put the Louisiana ending in it if you want to. Go Knights, baby. I'm riding with them this year.
No, I'm glad you were a fellow John Rice Plumley truther.
Yes. In all seriousness, I saw Plumlee play last year against Memphis in homecoming. I was on the field for that. He's an amazing quarterback. I mean, he's not like he's a good quarterback, elite. I think for the school he was at, the school he's at, he's very good. I think he's one of the better quarterbacks y'all have seen. But I think if he fixes those mistakes, they get it done. If they get it done, we are done with college. Well, one more thing, and we can go through this real quick. What do y'all think about Stanford, Cal, and SMU joining the ACC? Whoever would like to go first. Chris,
you can go first because I have a lot to say.
I mean,
Lord.
Stanford and Cal. I mean, Stanford I kind of get because they're a respected school. They're a respected school, and they might get back on the come up because I remember when Stanford was really, really good, especially with Andrew Luck. They bring academics, they bring some prestige to the conference. Cal, I think, they'll be good. They could be good basketball wise there, and the football team, could bring something there. But I mean, I think Cal is not really that great as well as USC or UCLA. SMU, on the other hand, what in the world is the SEC thinking? What is the world is the ACC thinking? Letting this bum school in when they could have came right here to a school that's better than them in Memphis. Put Memphis in the ACC. It makes it better. Why? Football is on the up and up. I don't think Ryan Silverfield is a great coach.
No.
But you put Memphis basketball in that conference, you give immediate legitimacy. You put Memphis against Duke, against Carolina, against Wake Forest. Memphis will hold its own against those teams. SMU practically paid them to get in that conference. That's basically what it comes down to. SMU is a bum of a school to be in that big of a conference. I don't like it.
Hey, we'll take you in the Big 12 over here.
One quick thing before we talk about.
They don't want to take us either.
Before Patrick, I'll let you speak about the basketball. They're gonna get tested by some of these ACC schools. If you go look at Memphis's non-conference, we get Clemson and Virginia at home. I believe.
Yeah, we do.
Not a back-to-back, but they play Clemson the first game and then play Virginia the second game. So I think they should have waited till we beat both those teams to show them that we belong. Patrick, what you got to say about this? I know you said you had a lot to say.
I mean, Stanford and Cal make sense to me. Not as much of in a sports sense, although Stanford does have a good overall sports program. For me, it's academic standing. I mean, Stanford and Cal Berkeley are two of the best universities academically in the nation. I know I'm looking at an engineering school ranking. Obviously, you have UMass, not UMass, MIT at the top. But then you have number 2 Stanford and number 3 Berkeley.
Yeah.
Right. So I think academics play a big role in them getting into a conference. Although the sports aren't too bad as well.
I felt like that was kind of the main thing for me with them joining the ACC. All three of these, I know we said SMU's a terrible sports program, but they do have good academics at the end of the day. You can't go against that, and I think it's just an academic move. I still think Oregon State and Washington State deserve to be in a conference. I hope it happens.
Yeah.
I don't care where they go. Put them in a conference, especially with Oregon State being a ranked team this year. Washington State bringing that history. Obviously, you got the old Crimson at College Game Day. But SMU still don't deserve to be there. I agree with Chris.
Yeah,
Put Memphis in.
SMU for me is kind of a head scratcher. I mean, if you look at Memphis compared to SMU sports wise, I feel like Memphis just has an overall healthier outlook as a university.
I mean,
So
even like if you look at, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, watching a lot more Memphis, starting to pay attention more. Our soccer, I think Chris, you think you've seen this before. Our soccer program, women's
Nope.
and men's.
I was just thinking about that.
The women's is, I believe, are ranked, right? Are they ranked?
I want to say the women are ranked,
and I think
if
the
I'm
men's
not
soccer,
mistaken.
like I know it's soccer or football. I don't care what you call it. You know what the sport is. And I think that should have been they should have looked at everything besides money and academics. I don't know.
And the Pom Pom Squad is a national championship Pom Pom Squad.
Yeah, Pom Pom Squad. Shout out my girl Allie out there, man. They're a great crew.
I just want to mention one thing you mentioned about men's soccer, because I always have to plug my university, right? UCF is ranked number 6 right now. Not FGCU.
Okay, sorry. Wrong one.
Yeah, UCF is ranked number 6 in men's soccer right now.
Oh,
I'm loving that.
All right, we're loving that. You know what else we love?
Right. Oh wait, NFL. Hold on. I'm not finished with with expansion. By the way, hey, we got time. All right, we got time. Believe me,
we do. We have time.
All right, I think expansion as a whole is ruining college football. I mean, you have teams from the West Coast playing in a conference with teams from the East Coast. I mean, where in the world do you see Stanford, playing Virginia Tech in Blacksburg and thinking, yeah, that's a conference game? They're in the same conference. Woo-hoo. I mean, I just think I want to go back to the days when college football, conference-wise, is a more regionalized thing. And here's my prospect for that. By the way, I wanted to tell you guys this. I think this is like a new conference system that I would want to implement, and it helps with a playoff system as well. Right? So it's a 32-team playoff, and there's no conferences, right? Well, you can call them conferences if you want, but it's 16 mini conferences, right, of 8 teams. So you'll have 128 teams, 32 teams make the playoffs, right? Those 16 divisions or conferences are all regionalized. So you have like all the teams in Florida in one division. You have, and then you have like California and like maybe Arizona teams in another division. And so you'd have 16, and then those would be divided into 4 regions, right? And then each year, you would only be required to, the only requirements on your schedule would be the 7 divisional teams, right? And then after that, you take the division winner, and you take the 4 division winners in each region, and then you take the 4 best runner-ups among the rest of the region, and you make that 8 teams. They all play each other until they get to the semifinals, where it's 1 team from each region. If anyone listening lives in Florida, it's pretty much the exact same as the Florida high school football playoff system. And I think that would be a great system to implement in college football.
That would be fun. That would be fun. You would get some amazing matchups. But it's just expansion's always going to be something in football. We got to get used to it.
All about the money.
It's all about the money. It's all about the money, right? Well, I'm ready to get into some money. Y'all ready to talk about some NFL football now? Got week 1 coming up. Let's do it. There we go. So
here's where Chris gets to go off.
This is what this is why we brought on Chris. He's got the knowledge. So how we're doing this, if you watched our episode last week, and if you haven't, go back and watch it and subscribe, of course. We're going to split up in the NFC and the AFC. We're going to have a surprising team, a disappointing team. We're going to pick our division winners, and then we're going to pick our conference championship and who wins that conference championship. So, we're going to start with the NFC. Would either of y'all like to go first, or do y'all want to hear me talk about the NFC first?
Yeah, you can go first, but I want to go first in the AFC.
All right, I'll let you get the AFC first. I know why. So, surprise team of the year, Detroit Lions out of the NFC North. Looking at their roster, it's a very talented roster in my opinion. Got a lot of starred skill players. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Aiden Hutchinson, of course. You got Jamison Williams at running back. I still think Jared Goff isn't the best quarterback, but I do think they will be very successful in their division. Do I think they will win it? No, and I'll say who later. But I think they will be very talented. I think they can give Kansas City some problems tomorrow night, and I just think they'll have a successful season, possibly make the playoffs in a wild card spot. My disappointing team of the year, and I think a lot of people say this every year, is the Cowboys. I mean, just looking at their team, they lost Zeke. They also have Tony Pollard and Prescott, and they could be good this year. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But looking at past history, it's kind of like we mentioned earlier with Florida. They've been a cursed franchise since about the 90s. Mostly because Dez caught it. Dez caught it. I mean, you can't stand by that by the end of the day. So my division winners, speaking of the Cowboys, I think they'll still finish second in the division. But I just think early playoff exit again, unfortunately. My division winners out of the NFC East is the Eagles. NFC North, I've got Minnesota. Out of the NFC South, I'm taking my own team, the Saints. And out of the NFC West, I'm taking the 49ers. Out of the playoffs, I'm taking Minnesota against Philly in Philadelphia. Philly wins, and they go on to the Super Bowl. Thoughts, opinions, and whoever wants to go next.
Patrick, I'll let you go next.
All right. So my surprising team for the NFC is the Falcons. I think they have a really good roster despite their quarterback problems. I do not think Desmond Ridder is the guy to take them the rest of the way, but I do think they are a really good team even in spite of him. You got Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and defense has got AJ Terrell, Richie Grant, all the great secondary players. Their front seven, not as good, but I mean, still a NFL caliber lineup. And I think they have enough to win a weak NFC South. I know you are high on the Saints, Cooper, but I'm just not that high because I don't think they have the team built around Derek Carr. And I have them, well, it's a bit of a spoiler, but they're my South Division winner. My disappointing teams are the Giants and the Rams. I have them both listed. Giants, I feel like people are a little high on them. I mean, I don't see a lot of talk about the Giants, but they were good last year. Yeah, they were good last year. They might be like a sneaky wild card pick, and maybe grab that 7th spot. I have them at 7-10. I think they have a bit of a fall off this year, and a bit of a second season syndrome with that coaching staff, and then the Rams. I think they're going to be really bad this year. I mean, Cooper Kupp is just about the only thing keeping that team together. And the defense is going to be good. Aaron Donald, is going to carry the defense. But I think like I said, I think Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald are the only two truly great players they have. The rest of the roster feels a little bit barren. And I think Matthew Stafford is getting up there in age, and he's going to start falling off. And I think this year is going to be a very disappointing one for them. Now, my division winners, I'm going to do 1 through 4. So my 1 seed is the Eagles, my 2 seed is the 49ers, my 3 seed is the Falcons, and my 4 seed is the Vikings. My wildcard teams are Seahawks, Cowboys, and Lions in that order. And my NFC championship prediction is Seahawks over Falcons. I think the Eagles and the 49ers, while good, I think this is just a case of bad, just bad matchups. I think, well, specifically for the Eagles, I think, because I have them losing to the Seahawks in the divisional. I think the Seahawks are a sneaky team. I think Geno Smith really is that good. And I think we could see an upset. And 49ers, I think they could get unlucky with a couple injuries. Brock Purdy could fall off. I mean, last season could have been an anomaly for all we know.
And speaking of the 49ers real quick, I know we saw it earlier before we came on. Nick Bosa did sign a 5-year, $170 million or $150 million. I don't have it up anymore.
170.
170 and then 122.5 guaranteed.
Chris, show off the talent, man. Give us the NFC. Who you got?
All right. First off, big shout out to Nick Bosa getting that deal. That's a lot of money. Coming out of the East, obviously I'm going with Philly. I think Philly, they got the best pass rush in the league. They stole A.J. Brown from my team, and I'm going to try not to be bitter since we got DeAndre Hopkins, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll get into them.
So, yeah, Philly in the East. I'm going with Minnesota in the North. In the South, I'm going with the Saints. In the West, I have a bit of surprise. And this is my surprise team. The Seattle Seahawks. I think the Seahawks, they snuck up on people last year. And I got to give a big shout out to Geno because Geno has pretty much.
Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord.
It's a great story for him. I mean, this is a tremendous story.
This is not good. I hope someone didn't lose power.
He was basically practically giving up for dead with the Jets and couldn't get on with anybody else. He
Sorry
gets
about
on
this, guys.
With Seattle.
Man, weather happens, don't it, man?
And he
I don't know if y'all can hear Chris. Y'all can.
That
I'm sorry.
Seattle was supposed to
crap. This is not good. This is not good. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. This is not good.
Geno and Pete Carroll. Shout out to
Chris, them. Either one of y'all there.
With DK.
I can't hear either one of y'all. This is, Lord.
With Lockett. Now they got Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Please
has
tell me.
really
Please
dug
don't tell me the
Seattle
internet
out
went out
of the depths.
Oh, my internet went out.
And now,
oh no.
I really think they could challenge San Francisco and overtake them for the West. I mean, San Francisco's going to be right there. And I think they're still going to be good. But San Francisco, I got questions at quarterback. Is Brock Purdy able to recover? And if so, then San Francisco can win that division. But I think Seattle surprises everybody and wins it. I think Dallas comes in as a wild card. Another wild card team would be San Francisco, whoever out of the West. And another team that I think could shock everybody. I mean, I think Detroit will be there. I think Detroit can get in. I was going to say that I think the North is going to be very competitive. Don't know how good Jordan Love is going to be in Green Bay. I think Detroit, I don't know if they live up to the hype because they're the media darling. They are what everybody wants to talk about. I think they get in. And I was going to say watch out for Chicago because if Justin Fields can somehow live up to his potential with DJ Moore out there, Chicago could sneak up, but I think it's Detroit is that last team. So I got those teams. And I really don't have a matchup as far as the conference championship, but I got Philly coming out of it.
Yeah, I like that. I like your predictions. Just a thing. Cooper said his internet went out, so he's obviously not with us anymore. And so let's move on to the AFC. And I'll let you go first since I went first with the NFC. And give me your picks.
Yeah, we'll go through it quick. Obviously, my Titans out of the South. I think Jacksonville is overrated. Everybody is just going crazy for Jacksonville, even though I hate the fact that my fantasy team has 3 Jaguars on it, since I didn't even remember that the draft was happening. But I like Tennessee. I think Tennessee wins the South, and I think they're gonna take it. I just think the Jaguars are overrated. I think it's gonna be a tough one. I think both of them win 10 games. Jacksonville is good, but I think the Titans can end up being better. North, I'm going Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati wins it. Baltimore, it just depends if they can stay healthy and be able to compete. Lamar Jackson, obviously, with Odell Beckham. Pittsburgh, can Kenny Pickett take that next step as a quarterback? We know Mike Tomlin is going to have a tough football team. Cleveland is an anomaly. Is Deshaun Watson going to come out of this hole that he's been in for the last 3 years? And so we'll definitely have to see about that. In the West, Kansas City, and that's obvious. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think the Chargers are definitely going to push them. And I think the Chargers are definitely going to push. The Raiders, Denver, I don't really know about them. I mean, we'll have to see with Sean Payton out there with Russell Wilson. In the East, here is my surprise team, the New York Jets. I think the Jets take over Buffalo and win the AFC East. And I think Buffalo could be a little bit disappointing. Not saying that they will suck or anything, but I think they're not going to win the East, which I think makes them disappointing. In the NFC, I would say my most disappointing team, I'm going to go with the Giants because I just think they made a big mistake restructuring Daniel Jones after they shouldn't have gave him all that money. But I think the Jets are the surprise team. And coming out of the AFC, right now I got to go Cincinnati. I don't want to go with them, but I like Cincinnati.
Those are some pretty good picks. I also have the Jets as my surprise team, and I also think they win the East. Although I think it'll be a little bit closer. Maybe within one win, or maybe the same amount of wins, but just overall beating them. My disappointing team is the Dolphins. I know a lot of people are high on them. They have a lot of stars on their team, but how well is Tua going to hold up with the concussion issues? He has a history now, and as you know, the more concussions you have, the more likely you are to get more. Hey, here comes Cooper.
Oh, I'm back. Oh.
He's coming back.